in the Psukim, there's a mitzvah upon a Yoledet, the woman giving birth, to bring a Korban to the Beit HaMikdash once she has become Tehorah. She's purified herself. This mitzvah, which appears at the beginning of our Parsha, in fact, is part of an order of mitzvot that's related to a family. And if I'm not mistaken, they're about, the Rambam numbers 37 mitzvot regarding prohibitions who a man can or cannot marry in order to establish a family. Most of the 37 mitzvot appear later on, here in Chumash Vayikra, where a person's not allowed to marry various relatives and so on and so forth, and especially a Kohen. A Kohen even has special marital limitations. He's not allowed to marry, for instance, a divorcee, a grusha. He's not allowed to marry a chalutza, a woman that received, instead of yibum, chalitza from the brother-in-law. These are prohibitions that are related to establishing a family, like the prohibition of a nida, the prohibition of a zava, which it'll appear later in the parsha. In any event, some of you perhaps asked yesterday, well, if there are so many mitzvot regarding building a family, shouldn't the Torah really start off with that? Okay? First teach us the mitzvot that are related to who can you marry, who can you not marry, and then go to the mitzvot of giving birth. And it makes a woman tame'ah, what are a korbanot, and so on and so forth. But here we see, it's just the opposite, right? Here we see, here in Chumash Vayikra, in our parsha, the Torah starts off with the mitzvah of a family, a Yoledet, Mazal Tov, okay? And we would have thought the order should have been different. So therefore, I once read an article from Machon Meir, the Temple Institute, that they dealt with the subject, and they give the following answer. When we contemplate about the mitzvot on a Yoledet, okay, it seems that the Torah is interested that she come to the Beit HaMikdash. That she come to the Beit HaMikdash. Okay? The most important thing for a woman that's now been responsible together with her husband to bring a family into the world, okay? To help deposit a soul into a body and bring a family into the world. It's not for her pleasure. Believe me, it's not for her physical enjoyment. This is a shlichut, this is a mission of a woman. She wants to be a partner with Hashem. Every woman, by definition, by nature, wants to be a mother. It's natural. She wants to help bring and build a family. And maybe that could be the reason why the Torah, amongst all the 37 mitzvot related to building a family, starts off with the results, starts off with the summit, the pinnacle, the birth of a child, which is really the pinnacle of family life, bringing boys and girls into the world. And now it's going to have an impact on this woman, that she's going to be summoned to the Beit HaMikdash. Remember, in all the orders of mitzvot related to having a family, marriage, and so on and so forth, some of you know, I wanted to really put up some terms in the board. I'm going to have Mr. Ezra Adler put up the terms on the board. Start with the red to the left side. Kiddusha, the word Kiddusha. Next, Kiddushin. Next, Isurei Chitun, the prohibitions of marriage. Isurei Yaken. Number 4, that's Isurei Chitun, the prohibitions of marriage. Number 5, with a samech, Isurei Chitun, the prohibitions of marriage. Number 5, Lamed Zayin, 37 mitzvot involved in a family. Lamed Zayin. And Lamed Zayin mitzvot, or Lamed, the 37 mitzvot involved, the Rambam enumerates, involved in having a family. Who can you marry, who can you not marry, and so on and so forth. And the last one, Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. All this is related, these terms that I want you to know in building a family and regarding the Korban Yoledet. My dear friends, in Am Yisrael, as some of us know, our marriage is called Kiddushin. Okay? Kiddushin. Put a vav after the daled in Kiddushin, sir.
Here?
After the daled.
Yeah.
Second one. Kiddushin. No. In the second one.
After the daled.
After the daled. Kiddushin. Marriage in Hebrew is called Kiddushin. Why? Because there's holiness. When a woman is betrothed, is married by her chatan, by her groom, she now becomes holy, special, unique to her husband. Okay? There's no promiscuity here. There's no flirting around here with other men. She is to be special to this man and this man only. And therefore there's holiness. And therefore the consummation of the marriage, Isurei Chitun, of marriage. Chitun. Okay? I think just wanted to hang out there by the board all sure. Okay? My dear friends, therefore, the building, thank you, sir, the building of a family for the Jewish people is a mitzvah of holiness. There's no other way to understand it. And therefore, a person will never reach shleimut. He will never reach completion or perfection unless he is married. Unless he's married. For that, some of you know, Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, in order for him to be eligible to be a Kohen Gadol for Am Yisrael on Yom Kippur, the Mishnah, the beginning of Masechet Yoma, chapter 1, Mishnah 1, the Kohen Gadol must be married. Not only that, but we even appoint an assistant Kohen Gadol, a vice Kohen Gadol. If something happens to him, there has to be someone in the bullpen ready. He too has to be married. From this understanding, we can now perhaps approach understanding the mitzvah in our parsha, that she, the Yoledet, what's upon her after giving birth is to connect that kedusha of marriage and now having a family and going to the holiest place for the Jewish people. Every Yoledet in the Jewish people will have to come to the Beit HaMikdash. Every time she gives birth, her family reaches a new level of height, a new level of kedusha, that she and her family are getting into a higher level. She's going to have to visit the Beit HaMikdash another time. And remember, she's going to bring 2 korbanot. We're not dealing now with the second, the chatat, which is a big question we asked her yesterday. I'm not dealing yet why is she bringing a chatat. What did she do wrong? That's obvious, great question. Let's first talk about the olah. By definition, when a person brings a korban olah, like we've been learning in Parashat Vayikra and Parashat Tzav, olah, nicknamed what? An ascent offering. Everything is consumed on top of the mizbech to God. It's a doron. It's a gift. You, the person bringing it, and the Kohen offering it will not get any kickbacks. Will not get anything back whatsoever. Everything is completely burnt, consumed on the mizbeach. So that's an elevation. Who is being elevated? The one that's bringing the korban. So here's like an expression of thanks, of holiness, of elevation to God after carrying this fetus 9 months. And have you ever been, none of you have ever, you know what it means? It's a hard thing, okay? She doesn't sleep sometimes. She has hormonal changes. She cries here and there. It's not an easy thing. Thank God he made me a man. I wouldn't be able to do it probably, right? To carry baby after baby. God, it's a tremendous, tremendous mission. Therefore, what we're finding is that the korban for a woman giving birth is an elevation of her level for she and her family before Hashem. And the more that there's an elevation of families before Hashem, it's bringing greater divine presence in the Jewish people. It works in both ways. She's being elevated. The Shekhinah is even more ever present to the Jewish people. Thomas, you have a question?
After how many days she can bring the korban?
So we learned here, we said, when she gives birth to a male, she is Tume'ah to her husband 7 days. She goes to the mikvah and she can be permitted to her husband. And some explain that. The Midrash says, the Gemara says also, what's the matter? Everyone's coming to be so happy with her on day number 8 to go to the Brit Milah, and she's forbidden to a husband. Doesn't make sense. That's why the Torah says after the giving of the birth of a male, halachically speaking, she can be with her husband, because day number 8, everyone is celebrating, everyone is happy. What she's going to be, she and her husband going to be saddened? They can't be together? That's why she's already, after she goes to the mikvah, on day number 8, she is tehora, pure to her. Awesome. But she's not allowed, as we're going to see, 2 prohibitions: eating kochim and going up to the Mishkan. Kochim? Holies. That's what I want to talk about right now. Of the laws of Yoledet, gentlemen, 2 laws which are stated here regarding the woman giving birth. Do you know? From here, it's learned out for all matters of tum'ah, of impurity. Sefer HaChinuch and also the Rambam bring that the source for someone that is tamei, defiled, that cannot eat what? Kodeshim, holies, it's learned out from the law of a Yoledet. So, okay, number 1, every person that is tamei, impure, is not allowed to eat the meat of the korbanot, as while as the tuma is still on the person. The source is our pasuk here. It says, Bechol kodesh lo tiga. We said yesterday the word tiga usually means what? Do not touch. However, the Torah is a code language, and here lo tiga does not mean do not touch, but rather it means do not eat. That's prohibition number 1. Yes, sir.
Question, but
we'll decide if it's a crazy question. What's that? Oh.
The Nachash also like, hey, do not touch, do not eat.
Yes, there's a relationship to it in the Midrash. Yes, maybe we'll get to regarding the sin offering. Number 2. And I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to number 1. The fact that there has to be a distance between someone that is tamei and holy matters. The Sefer HaChinuch writes that the root of this mitzvah is to permeate in the souls of the people that are tamei, yirah, fear of the Mikdash, fear of holy objects. The fact that we have to keep a distance and not partake in eating in Kodeshim when we are tamei, what does that develop in our souls? The attribute of yirah, fear. We need fear of the Mikdash as well, and therefore it's not worthy to be eating of the holies. Only a person that he's in a state of tahara, purity, because tahara is a virtue. Tahara is a spiritual honor for a member of Am Yisrael, as we all understand. That is prohibition number 1, which is related to anyone and everyone that is tamei. Learn from a woman. Prohibition number 2. Do you know that the prohibition of someone tamei to go on to the Beit HaMikdash area is learned from the woman, the Yoledet? Okay? That once she gives birth to she cannot go up to the Beit HaMikdash. Let's now understand, though, there are 2 stages. We showed a picture before yesterday, just before a moment ago, the 15 steps. Okay? 15 steps that lead into Ezrat Yisrael, the courtyard of Israel. Further in is Ezrat Kohanim, where the Mizbeach is. The gates during the second table we'll call the Nicanor gates, Shar Nicanor. Okay? Now understand, please, 2 levels of a woman who gave birth as far as going into the Beit HaMikdash area. Number 1, the immediate days after she gives birth, 7 days for a boy, 14 days for a girl. For those days, she's prohibited to go in any area of the Temple Mount, any area of Har HaBayit, any area of the Temple Mount. Afterwards, now she, for the period of the next either 14 days, for a boy, 33 days, and for a girl, 66 days, For that period, she's only prohibited to go into the courtyard of Israel. She's only prohibited to go into the courtyard of Israel. She can go onto the Temple Mount. And in fact, when she's finishing the 33 plus 7 or the 66 plus 14, when she finishes that, and now she's summoned to the Beit HaMikdash to bring how many korbanot? One, a olah. Second, a chatat offering. She indeed goes up into the Beit HaMikdash area, okay? And she's going to go, for instance, onto the Temple Mount, but she's not yet atoned for. But she can go all the way up until the Nicanor gates, as we showed before. That means she already went to the mikveh after 7 or 14 days to be permitted to her husband. But now, after the entire period is ended, she goes up to the Nicanor gates right before there, and she waits. She delivers through her husband usually her korbanot. When that is finished, she's now considered mechuperet. She's now atoned for. And then theoretically, she can even go up and further in. So gentlemen, understand that from day 41 at the birth of a male and day 81 at the birth of a female, a woman is obligated to come in and bring her korban olah. Now the olah, as we saw yesterday, it all depends upon the financial status of the family. And it's called, in the language of Chazal, korban oleh v'yored. What does korban oleh v'yored? It's meaning a financial ability. The Rambam, Maimonides, in the laws of Shkagot, when he talks about korban yoledet, says if she has enough income, the family has enough income, then she brings the lamb, which is 1 year old, as an olah offering, and the turtle dove for the chatat. And if she cannot afford it, as we saw the words yesterday in the Chumash, then it's called yored, meaning she can bring, instead of 1 turtle dove, she can bring 2 or a pigeon, and so on and so forth. One bird for the olah, and the other bird for the chatat. That means the Torah is giving into financial consideration of the family. And the Rambam continues that the husband will bring the korban, and it's all dependent upon his situation there. If he's yet to get his salary only in another month, he's not mandated to go to the loan officer at the bank and get a loan and do the more expensive korban. No, not at all. It's all dependent upon the situation there and then of the day that they're bringing the korban. So here we see consideration at the time of bringing the korban. So usually the woman comes up to Shara Nicanor, that gate, at the entrance to the courtyard, and then she can even be a spectator and see the Kohanim bringing her korbanot on the Mizbeach. I'm going to stop for two questions, Amos and then Thomas.
That means that we are not obligated to think about it ahead, because she got the bird and there's like 80 days before I will come with the offering. I shouldn't save the money to buy.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I don't.
You're not obligated. If you like to, because you love Hashem and you want to put money aside, you can do that, just like you put food aside or money aside to buy Shabbat products. You can. Yeah. But is there a chiyuv, an obligation? The answer is no.
The concept is...
I know you love Hashem and you want to be a chassid and you want to be able to do all the mitzvot. You might want to do that, but it's not a chiyuv. Very good question.
Big impact on your understanding.
Absolutely. Mr. Thomas?
Can a woman do the semicha, or is it supposed to...
No, the semicha can only be done inside the Ezrat Kohanim area, and she is not allowed to be there unless she's already mechuperet, atoned for. So she will not do the semicha. Okay?
Nobody's doing for...
No, the Kohen will do it, or maybe the husband will do the semicha. Okay. There are times, for various reasons, that she can't hang around. She can't hang around and wait until, there's a long line. There were another 30, 40 Jewish women in front of her. Can she wait for the hours? Look, she has to breastfeed the baby. She has to take care of the other kids, maybe. She didn't find a babysitter. The woman, for various reasons, doesn't have to wait in the Beit HaMikdash area for the finishing or completion of the Korban. And therefore, all she has to know is that she delivered it, and that will be taken care of. And the Kohanim will bring the Korban with her absence. And then, by nighttime, we'll be sure. By nighttime, we'll be sure that the Korbanot that she brought will be already brought and offered. And then she is permitted to eat Kodeshim, holies. She's permitted to walk on other parts of the Beit HaMikdash. If we wanted to understand perhaps the significance of the Korban Yoledet, there's a very special idea that I wanted to share with you. People that are married and know that often women are very limited in their mobility to get to certain places, to go. They're taking care of the young ones. And there are special times of the Jewish people that sometimes a woman cannot join. Okay? We have one of our married kids has Bili Einar already, 7 or 8 kids already, young family. And some of my my kids, other kids, don't understand why can't they make it to all the affairs that we have in our family? And they don't understand there's a lot to do to take care of the kids. And she's exhausted in this and that. She can't travel anytime and every time. Okay? What about the mitzvah of the pilgrimage, Aliyah L'Regel? It could very well be that during the 3 times of the year, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, a woman has to abstain, joining her husband in coming up to Yerushalayim and bringing the holiday korbanot. And she often remains at home because of the tender care that she's giving to her children, and she doesn't have the ability to go out. Or she could be a nida, a menstruating woman, or a zava. And therefore, this situation arouses us to ask a question, or any question for any woman, regarding, a woman can say, well, why should I be deficient? Why should I be left out? Why is it that I can't be part of these matters? And if she asked that question, maybe the answer could be here, that the Korban Yoledet is a solution. The Korban Yoledet is a great offering time for a woman that could be limited going up to Yerushalayim during the course of the year. Hashem says, this is your time. I'm going to give you time right now. Okay? And after you complete the counting of these days, Hashem is now inviting you. Come here, Mrs. Yoledet. Come up to the Beit HaMikdash. You deserve an ascent. You deserve an aliyah ruchanit after the birth of your son or your daughter. And therefore, where the husbands are coming up every year, 3 times a year. Nachon Ranan. The husbands are coming 3 times a year on their motorcycles, perhaps, to Yerushalayim. Everyone's sitting in traffic and he passes everyone on his motorcycle. Of course. And everyone's coming up together to be seen, to get fear and love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And all year round, when we come up 3 times a year, it's so crowded. Everyone is even though miracles are happening on the Temple Mount, but it's crowded, the lines are long and this and that. And she's not coming up during the crowded times. When she's giving birth during the course of the year, spring, winter, autumn, whenever she's giving birth, it's her chag. It's her holiday. It's her special time to appear before HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Beit HaMikdash. So therefore, there's a lot of significance to this matter. And therefore, she is wanted by Hashem. She's given this opportunity by Hashem. I want to, yes sir, Amos?
You raised the question if that 84 days is on the holiday days,
then she'll be exempt.
She can come later.
Come later, yes. From that day and on. In other words, the 2 prohibitions continue until her korbanot are brought, and then she has kapara. For a few brief moments, I want to discuss the obvious question that everyone is asking: what wrong did she do that she has to bring a chatat offering? There's one of the Gemara talks about that a Yoledet brings a chatat offering because when she's giving birth, it's so difficult perhaps. She screams, this is the last time I'm doing this. I'm not going to do this anymore, or so on and so forth. And therefore, and after she gives birth and has such a good time with her baby, she's sorry that she even said that. That's one understanding, but that doesn't go or work for every woman that doesn't scream and doesn't say that I'm not going to give birth and so on and so forth. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim ben Attar, he brings us back to the original sin of Adam HaRishon and Chava. And he talks about the difficulty of giving birth. The difficulty that a woman from then for giving birth is related to the early sin of man. Until that time of that sin, the body was so pure, was so special, was so joyous and happy to receive a new soul. There was no opposition. The body was interested in this Kedusha on such a level. And that would come into expression at the time of birth. What is birth? The birth is that the woman now is bringing to the world a guf and a neshama. However, at the time or thereafter, the time of the sin of Adam HaRishon, she was cursed as well. Okay? What is she cursed with? Itzvonech veheronech. In other words, sadness and pregnancy. Be'etzev, with sadness, teldi banim, you're going to give birth to children. What does it mean, be'etzev teldi banim? The Orach Chaim HaKadosh explains the difficulty to give birth. What is the difficulty to give birth? The body now shows opposition to the appearance of a soul in the world. We know that we're comprised of two. There's two elements in many, many things. Heaven and earth, body and soul, and many other enterprises. The body, by definition, is interested only in the physical. The neshama is opposite, contrary, is interested in the spiritual. Ever since the sin of Adam and Chava, the body is showing opposition to bring a neshama into the world. It's as if it's a type of blockage. It's a type of opposition for the body to give birth. Okay? What do you think? That all of a sudden she comes to the delivery room and her body pushes the baby out, and in a sin she comes 1, 2, 3. Does it happen that way, sir? Or there's difficulties? Of course not. Okay? The body doesn't just want kedusha. The body wants the physical matters. So inside the body, there's tov and there's ra. There's good and there's evil. What does it mean that there's tuma at the time of birth? The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, you know what tuma is? The difficulty of the body to give birth. This experience that the body is showing opposition, the body is showing as if there's a blockage, that's the tuma. That's the expression that Rashbi says, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai explains, a woman bringing a chatat offering, when he says it's because of that women sometimes take an oath, it doesn't mean that they in fact took an oath, that they're not going to give birth. And that's the reason they're obligated the sin offering. Okay? It's just because of the difficulty of giving birth. Because the body doesn't want to give birth, that's considered like a spiritual tum'ah. Okay? As if this experience that the body is blocking the ability for the neshama to come to the world. And therefore it's really not related individually. Did the woman say, I'm not going to be pregnant again, have a child? It's not that situation. Rather, it's an expression of evil, of the body not interested in bringing a neshama to the world. That is the tumah on this hand. And therefore it's related to the original sin of Chet Hadam Harishon. And by the woman bringing her kapara, her chet, therefore she's bringing an atonement for this impression of evil in the world that's related to the body. This is her time, her ability to correct and fix the early sin of man, Adam and Chava. And therefore, he also explains the matter of Brit Milah being here, but we'll have to do that in another time. Until here, have a great day today, gentlemen. Shalom uvracha.